I had spent a week planning her birthday dinner. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a cozy reservation at a downtown bistro she'd once said had charm, the kind of place with handwritten menus and jazz playing softly in the background. I picked it because it wasn't loud, flashy, or crowded, just intimate enough for conversation, laughter, and the little toasts that reminded people they were loved. But she brought company. 2 friends, Dana and Chloe, who greeted me with overenthusiastic kisses on the cheek, and immediately began talking about TikTok trends and Botox appointments before we even sat down. I didn't mind at first. Maybe she wanted a social night. Maybe I was just overthinking things. Maybe I should have seen it sooner. I was the only one who hadn't ordered wine. I don't drink. They did. Glass after glass. And somewhere between the second bottle and the waiter awkwardly checking if we were ready to order, Chloe leaned in toward my wife and whispered something, smirking. My wife laughed, a high-pitched, performative laugh that echoed across the restaurant. Then she looked at me. Don't worry, he doesn't understand fashion. Or grooming. Or aesthetics. Dana chuckled, raising her glass. He's rustic. Like a lumberjack who got lost downtown. They all laughed. I smiled awkwardly. I'd dressed up. I'd even gotten a fresh shave. I'd wanted to look good for her. But then came the line. The one that cracked something in me. I mean seriously, my wife said, loud enough for the table next to us to turn. Sometimes I look at him and think, God, how did I end up with someone so ugly? Chloe gasped, then laughed again. Dana covered her mouth like it was a comedy roast. But my wife? She said it without flinching, without blinking. Like it was funny. Like I was the punchline to a joke I didn't know we were telling. Silence. My fork slipped and clinked against the plate. Haha, I muttered. You're joking, right? She shrugged. Oh, come on. Don't be so sensitive. It's my birthday. Can't I have a little fun? Fun? I asked, trying to steady my voice. At my expense? Grow up, she snapped, rolling her eyes. You knew what you signed up for. I'm just being real. That was when it happened. She stood up, slung her purse over her shoulder, and looked around the room like she was starring in some breakup drama. You know what? She said. You really are embarrassing. I can't do this anymore. Chloe gasped again, this time for real. Dana looked like she wasn't sure if it was staged or not. A few heads turned. The waiter froze at the bar. I blinked. What are you talking about? I'm done, she said coldly. Happy birthday to me. You can pay for the meal. And she walked out. Just like that. She didn't look back. Didn't say goodbye. Just glided out the door like she had rehearsed it. I sat there. Alone. Humiliated. My face burning red. A couple across the aisle pretended not to stare. The waiter, bless his heart, approached quietly and asked, should I box her food? I shook my head. I paid the bill. Tip included. I didn't even finish my entree. As I stepped outside, the night air felt like ice on my skin. My chest was tight, my hands were shaking, and I wasn't sure if I was angry, embarrassed, or just broken. How did I get here? How did the woman I once adored, the woman I proposed to with trembling hands and a ring I'd saved for 6 months to buy, turn into this stranger? I walked home, past the shops closing down, past the couples laughing arm in arm, past everything that felt like a mirror to what I'd lost. The doorman asked me if the night went well. It was unforgettable, I replied. The apartment was silent. Her coat was gone from the hook. Her favorite candle, the lavender one I always lit when she was having a bad day, sat cold and unused. I stared at the empty space where her heels usually lay by the door. It had happened. She'd left. And worse, I didn't even know if I wanted her back. But something inside me, something old and buried, stirred that night. Not revenge. Not hatred. Just a deep, aching desire to reclaim the parts of myself I had slowly let her laugh away. Because what do you do when the one person who is supposed to love you makes a public joke out of your existence? You stop being the joke. You start being the story. And so I opened a drawer, pulled out a pen and a notebook I hadn't touched in months, and wrote one sentence. She called me ugly, but I'm about to become unforgettable. The next morning, I woke up to silence. The kind that creeps into your bones and reminds you that someone used to live here. Her side of the bed was untouched, not because she hadn't returned, but because she'd stopped sleeping near me weeks ago. I just hadn't wanted to admit it. Now, without her perfume lingering in the sheets or her curling iron cluttering the sink, the apartment felt like it belonged to me again. But it also felt hollow, like a house after a storm, standing but stripped. I made coffee, the same way I used to make hers. Extra cream, 2 sugars. Out of habit. Then poured it down the drain. That day, I called out of work. Told my manager I needed personal time. He didn't ask questions. I guess I sounded like someone who didn't want to explain. After hanging up, I just sat in the living room staring at the window, at the world that moved forward without caring who got dumped the night before. My phone buzzed. A message from Chloe. Hey, last night was wild lol. Don't take it personally. She was just drunk. You know how she is, woman shrugging. I stared at it for a long time. No apology. No accountability. Just a flippant shrug, as if a public humiliation was just another quirky episode in my wife's unfiltered personality. Then came Dana's text. Girls' night got too real, grinning face with sweat, hope you're okay though. No one thought to ask if I was hurting. No one acknowledged what she'd done. They all treated it like a show. Like I was some side character in her self-centered narrative. I blocked them both. That night, I pulled out an old storage box from the closet. Inside were pieces of a version of me I had buried. A sketchpad, dusty dumbbells, business books I used to underline in college before life got too busy. Before I let myself become lesser. Comfortable. Small. No more. In the following weeks, I moved with purpose. Every day, I did something to reclaim my sense of self. Physically, emotionally, mentally. I joined a gym, started running again. Not to impress anyone, but to feel strong in my own skin. I revisited my art, creating designs I once dreamed of turning into a clothing brand. And I reached out to an old friend, Marcus, who ran a small design firm and once said, "If you ever get serious, I'll back you." He picked up on the first ring. "Man, it's been years. You okay?" "Getting there," I said. Over the next hour, I explained everything. Not just about the dinner or the insult, but about how I had let myself shrink. How I'd stopped chasing the things that once made me feel alive. When I finished, Marcus didn't lecture or pity me. He just said, "So, are you finally ready to build something that's yours?" I was. And I meant it. We got to work the next day. My designs, clothes that reflected resilience, dignity, quiet strength, found their home on a website Marcus helped me build. It was slow going, but every sale felt like someone out there saw value in something I created. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving. I was becoming someone I could respect again. One evening, about 6 weeks after the dinner incident, I returned home to find her standing in front of our apartment door. She looked different, not physically but smaller. Like the confidence she'd once worn, like perfume had worn off. "Can we talk?" she asked. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just opened the door. She walked in like she still owned the space. Looked around like a guest pretending not to be. Her voice cracked as she sat on the couch. "I've been thinking," she started. "About what happened." Silence. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said what I said. It was cruel. And the way I left. I was angry and drunk, and I felt cornered by my friends." I nodded slowly. "That wasn't the first time you said something like that." She looked up, confused. "You didn't call me ugly just once. You've been chipping away at me for a long time. Laughing at my job, calling me basic, rolling your eyes when I'd wear the same shoes twice. You might not remember all of it, but I do." "I was under pressure," she said softly. "They expect me to be sharp, sarcastic. It's how we talk." "No," I replied. "It's how you chose to talk. At my expense." She was quiet for a long moment. Then her eyes welled up. "I miss you. But something had changed in me. Something irreversible. I don't miss that version of us," I said. She leaned forward. "Can we fix it?" I stood. Walked over to the door. Held it open. "I'm not the man you thought you could belittle anymore. And you're not the woman I'm willing to fight for." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "So that's it." I looked at her, not with hatred, but with peace. That's the start of something new. For both of us. She walked out. And this time, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt free. 3 months passed. The transformation wasn't overnight, but it was real and undeniable. I moved out of the apartment we had once shared. Got a studio loft in the city, near the design firm Marcus and I were now co-running. Our brand, Steal Quiet, had started to gain traction. Not viral, not explosive, but real. People resonated with the tagline I had scrawled on a napkin one night. Built in silence. Forged in pain. Worn with pride. It wasn't just about clothes. It was about stories like mine. Men and women who were overlooked, underestimated, laughed at, until they turned their bruises into battle armor. I shared my story, not the messy details, but enough to let others know they weren't alone. I did a podcast interview about the emotional cost of toxic relationships and the strength in walking away. It went semi-viral. Messages started flooding in, not sympathy but gratitude. Your story gave me the push I needed to leave someone who mocked me. Thank you. I thought I was crazy for feeling hurt over just words. You reminded me I'm not weak. I'm starting over too. And it doesn't feel so lonely now. One night, I was invited to a local small business panel. Just 6 entrepreneurs talking about turning failure into fuel. I wore one of my jackets, clean black, with steel gray accents, and spoke from the heart. Afterward, a line formed. People wanted to meet me, shake my hand, ask if they could buy from my brand. Then I saw them. Her, Dana, and Chloe. Across the room. Dressed to kill, of course, but there was something hollow in their eyes. Like people who showed up expecting a familiar face, only to realize they were strangers now. Dana approached first. Wow. Steal Quiet, huh? Didn't expect this from you. Didn't expect it from myself either, I said calmly. Chloe stepped up, sheepish. Look, about that night. At the restaurant. We didn't think it would become a turning point. I interrupted. She blinked. Yeah. I smiled. Well, it did. Thank you. Dana tilted her head. So, are you seeing anyone now? I didn't flinch. Yes. Her eyes widened. Really? I'm seeing myself in the mirror and liking who I've become. That's new for me. They laughed awkwardly. Tried to recover. But I could feel the power shift. They weren't laughing at me anymore. They were nervous. Unsure. Like people who suddenly realized they were standing outside the room they once ruled. Then came the last surprise. My ex-wife. She showed up at my booth a few weeks later, during a local maker's market where we were selling direct to customers. She wasn't wearing makeup this time. No entourage. Just a small canvas tote, and the weight of regret in her walk. Hey, she said softly. You're really doing it, huh? I am. I saw your podcast clip. The one where you talked about emotional abuse disguised as jokes. I said nothing. I wanted to say thank you for not dragging me by name. You had every reason to. I shrugged. You dragged yourself plenty that night. All I had to do was get out of the way. She nodded slowly, then looked at one of the jackets on display. Your designs are beautiful. I know. Silence. Then the question I knew was coming. Do you think we could ever? No, I said gently before she could finish. Her face fell. You taught me something valuable, I said. That words matter. That laughter aimed at someone's dignity cuts deeper than silence ever could. And that love without respect is just possession in disguise. She wiped her eyes. You're not the same man. I hope not. As she turned to leave, I said one last thing. Happy birthday, by the way. She paused, confused. It was your birthday the night I vanished. You said the best gift would be for me to leave your life. I smiled faintly, glad I could finally give you what you asked for. She didn't reply, just walked away. That night, I stood on my studio balcony, watching the city lights blink against the sky. My phone buzzed, another sale notification. I was making it. Not just money. Peace. Self-respect. A life that belonged to me. The man they left behind? He didn't vanish. He evolved. And the ones who once called me ugly, they had to watch from the sidelines as I became the man they never saw coming.